Good morning, home builders. It is day 50. Actually, it's not day 50. It's Sunday morning, but for some reason I forgot to post a video on Friday, even though I had read through the material. And so you can start the Lord's Day with this devotion to start off with on your way to church. Day 50 is called Teaching Persistence. Persistence, the parenting principle from today is persistence. Persistence is one of the most important character traits that we can teach our children. I couldn't agree with that more. Persistence is something that occurs naturally in a few children as part of their personality traits, but for most of them, it is something that needs to be taught. I think sometimes it's easy to be persistent in the things we enjoy doing, but having persistence there as what we would consider a character trait is much more difficult. The scripture verse that we have is from Acts 14:19 through 21, and I had forgotten about this one. It says, "And there came thither certain Jews from Antioch and Iconium, who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead." So at this point, they think Paul's dead. They killed him. Whether Paul was actually dead and God restores life in him, brings him back to life, or whether he was just like beaten within an inch of his life to the point where they thought he was dead. And I think it was probably that. I don't know. Howbeit, verse 20, as the disciples stood round about him, he rose up and came into the city, and the next day he departed with Barnabas to Derbe. And when they had preached the gospel to that city and had taught many, they returned again to Lystra and to Iconium and Antioch. So the Jews came from Antioch and Iconium, and they knew about Paul. Paul had been there, and they kind of follow him into Lystra, and that's where they catch up with Paul. They convince the people, they turn the people against him, and they stone him to death. But what it says in 21 is that once he had preached the gospel to Derbe and had taught many, that they returned to Lystra, Iconium, and Antioch. So Paul, in an amazing example of persistence, first in 20 it says he came into the city and then the next day departed. So he goes right back into the city where he had been stoned. And then in 21, he goes back again to Lystra and to Iconium and Antioch, the places where the rabble-rousers had come from to begin with. Absolutely amazing. The persistence of Paul is such an awesome example of that character trait. Again, we are. It's easy to be persistent in the things that we enjoy doing or that we're good at doing. The question is, are we persistent whenever we have a worthwhile goal? Something that we know we ought to be doing, and then do we model that, do we show that, and do we teach that to our children? Hopefully you've had someone in your life that has taught you how to get back on the horse when something is painful, when something hurts, when something is considered a failure, that you can get right back on and get right back after it again without fear of failure, doing what is right, and continuing to persist in that goal. It is for almost everyone, it is a learned behavior. And because of the fact that it's a learned behavior, it's something that we have to teach. We have to teach our children that it is a good thing. If you've ever had a child who comes and asks for a Band-Aid because they hurt themselves doing something, and you start to remember the lessons that you were taught maybe when you were a child, and you say, well, go back out there and try it again. But I hurt my hand or my finger. Just do it again. Get back on there. The proverbial answer is getting back on the horse when it throws you off. That is a milestone achievement for a child when they're able to cast their fear aside and to get back on that horse. I would encourage you not just to teach it, but to applaud it and praise it when it happens. And And anyone who's ever been through that knows how proud a parent is of their children when they see that exhibited in their life. But we have to teach it to them first. I'll see you all in a little bit, and hopefully to see you in Sunday school this morning, in church this morning. Talk to you soon.